I thought I would do a video that is a garden tour of my front yard garden. So my front yard garden is 16 raised beds, 4x4 beds, and this is only the second year of this garden. So I'll go through a tour of what this garden looks like and some of the things that have been really fun to grow. And I also was going to post some pictures of a progression of this particular garden. This is the one that I have found myself this year and last year spending the most time in, probably most likely just because of its size, but also because it's my newest garden and it's fun and wonderful, and it's given me an opportunity to try a lot of new things. I did create this mulch path here from the driveway up at the beginning of this year. It is just a black plastic underneath. As you can see, some of it needs to be fixed, but this provides a nice delineation of yard and then up to the front of the garden here. Hummingbird. There were two of them. I cannot think of the name of the cherry tree here, and I turned off the camera to think of it, and then there were two hummingbirds. So, cherry tree, hardy to zone 4. When I think of the name, I will say it. And then walking up here, I did plant some iris here, so we'll have iris coming up here next year. And here, this for the first time, I tried a sugar baby watermelons, and those aren't getting very big, I believe, because they're in containers. So we'll see what happens with those. It was at least an attempt. I have some Mexican sunflower here. And then what we did this year, the addition new for this year, is of these 3 cattle panels. So these cattle panel arches, I really have liked how these turned out, and we put them over the center 2 beds. So this particular area is 4 beds across and 4 beds deep. So 16 beds total. It is almost the entire portion of the side of my yard or the front of my yard, depending on what street you're on. This spruce tree, pine tree here, I would like to actually cut down and put a little greenhouse structure there, but that's a dream project for a different day. So as we go inside the garden here, what I have on this first cattle panel on either side are perennial hops vines, which I'm excited about. I did just plant those this year, and I'm getting hops. Side, it looks like, doesn't have hops yet, but this side does. It's really sunny out, so I'll try and get an area where we can show you. There, the hops coming in. I really like that. That's fun. What I did with the front of the garden here, let's see, this first bed when you walk in is more herbs. So there's basil, dill, lemongrass. This is just a volunteer amaranth that came up there, so I let that do its thing. This side here are hot peppers, and I did put some blackberries here with the intent of moving them. I don't intend on keeping them here. One of the things I'm continually learning is that I, in my excitement, plant things too close together, and then once they get big, I don't know that they'll have the space to continue to grow. But this has a lot of peppers coming in. These are ghost peppers, Trinidad scorpions, and Trinidad scorpions, apocalypse scorpions. So hot peppers. Oh, and look in here. Now that I'm here, I actually have some that are getting red and ripe. I can pick those. I'll come back and do that when I'm done. So there's some cayenne pepper in here too. This is mostly a hot pepper bed. Glass gem corn. And I see that there are ears here that are getting ready. Enough just for the 1 4x4 bed space, but enough that there's a number of ears. I didn't thin it out that well, so that was something that needs to be rectified in future years. This is just a rose bush, and the reason why I put the rose bush in a vegetable or an edible garden is because of the hips. So I'm wanting to be able to collect those rose hips at the end of the season and use those for something. This has quite a few buds still coming in. Here's more rose hips. And these are Sugar Rush peach peppers, which are very prolific and also look like they're starting to ripen. So I'll get some that will be ripe that I'll be able to get to pick here. This one got yucky. We don't need to keep that one, but some of them down here are starting to ripen. This here, if I pan out, are birdhouse gourds and purple martin gourds on this second or middle cattle panel, and these have really done well. So I do need to come in and take away what are the dead leaves in here, and I have a plan to do that, but all of these gourds are just coming in really nice and then hanging. That's fun, just hanging down above me. They're resting, they're actually resting on the cattle panel above. I'd say there's easily 20 that are growing really well. If we come out of the cattle panel here, growing here. So these did really well on this arched panel. And what we did with these in previous years is we cure them, let them dry, and then we actually turn them into birdhouses and drill the hole and paint them, and we sold them or gave them away. They're really fun. So here is an update of where my first video was shot with my concerns over tomatoes. The tomatoes, despite my inappropriate or overly judicial pruning, have done really, really, really well. That one is almost tipped over because it's heavy. I think what I'll throw in at the end here is a video of what I've gotten so far. I have gotten so many tomatoes that I have been actually just freezing them to figure out what to do at a later date. Specifically, I've been freezing all the Romas and all the black tomatoes because I wanted them to be able to make a sauce later. This next one here, these two front beds are amaranth. So this is a golden giant amaranth, which will be it's an edible grain, and then this is an edible leaf. And we also have a red hoppy dye amaranth, which is an edible grain with an edible leaf. Actually, the red hoppy was almost exclusively volunteers this year. And what I did on this side of this cattle panel trellis are watermelons. Moonbeam watermelon. So those are coming in really well. I'm gonna have to actually get them supported somehow, which I think will be a different video, where I'll have to rip up some old t-shirts or something to get support on there. That farthest bed up there is more corn, and that is actually a Japanese striped corn. So the ears are starting to turn, so I'll be able to get those harvested soon here. These two beds are raspberries, and they exploded, and I knew that they would, but I think I was maybe a bit unrealistic about how fast they would explode. So I want to clean those up this fall. I also have raspberries that are volunteering themselves absolutely everywhere, which is fun because then I'll dig those up this fall and decide if I want to replant them somewhere else or give them away. This is a giant gooseberry in this front that I don't think I'll keep because the fruit is spined, and I really was unable to do anything with it because I like eating the fruit fresh. More of these tomatoes. Here I have, this bed is kind of in progress. This is bronze fennel, so it did really well and it's done now, and I should actually save the seeds here. And then this is aronia berry, and that is the first year that the aronia berry bushes gave me some berries, and I'm going to actually move those berry bushes in the fall and create an area just for the berries. And then here I had some calendula, that's an annual that I just cut it all back and saved the seeds. So from the front you can see those cattle panels again, and the amaranth, and we'll come up here on the right hand side where all of these berry bushes are and these strawberries that are coming out over the path everywhere. So I have a big berry revamping project scheduled for probably in a few weeks from now. More raspberries coming out on the other side of the path. We actually have the fall bearing raspberries are starting to get ready now. It's hard to get a clear picture of the entire place, I feel like, because it is so big. Here's that Japanese striped corn up in the far corner. I do have some strawberry volunteer and volunteer raspberry I'm gonna have to get out of there. So I've got lots to do. I have corn smut growing in there, which I heard is edible, but I'm not interested. These are the Hungarian poppy seed heads that are, if you hit them, you can hear all the seeds popping in there. So they're just about ready to cut down. Then it won't look quite so ugly. But I want to collect all those seeds because they're edible, you can use them, or I just like to collect them and grow more. So here we are again walking around to the front of the bed. We do have a fence ready to go in here, we just haven't done it yet. So I'm back on the path here, and I'll just walk around this side back to that cherry tree. Sweet cherry pie, that's the name of the cherry tree. Again, if we go this way, there's the glass gem corn. In from that are those two hot pepper 4x4 beds where the peppers are just starting to ripen. I let that perennial sunflower volunteer there and just stay. Eventually I'll probably dig it up. Here we have the rose bed, and then those 4 tomato beds across that, regardless of my mistakes, are giving me a lot of tomatoes.